the sequence of events have went. One, there's a division over slavery. The South relies upon slaves for their economy, and some Southerners are making lots of money doing it. Then, the Republicans, who are against slavery, gradually take control of the House. Then they get control of the Senate. And then Lincoln's elected. And that allows the Republicans, who are against slavery, if they have the House, the Senate, and the President, that allows them to do what? What are those three pieces? To pass bills into laws. And the South is afraid that they're going to pass laws against slavery. So, the South secedes. South Carolina is first. And it's followed by 6 other states. Then even more secede. And they all formed the South during the Civil War, which is called what? The Confederacy. Now, the thing is, even though war didn't break out immediately, both sides could foresee an upcoming war, and they were preparing, and they come up with strategies for how they would fight that war. Now, Lincoln, he wants to avoid war altogether, but despite his efforts, it occurs. Yeah. Oh, what's wrong with that one? Let's see if that one works. All right. Because I don't have one except that one. Okay. Now, first of all, what was the name of the North in the time period of the Civil War? The Union. And their flag was a flag very similar to ours. I don't even know how many states there were in the Union, but it looked just like ours. The North, the Union, Lincoln, these people were Republicans, mainly. Now, the Northern strategy, which was developed, had 4 parts. Part 1 was to stop the South from getting essential supplies. So, part of the Northern strategy was to put a bunch of ships out in the ocean and stop trade of the Confederacy, to stop the trade from getting weapons, or the Confederacy from getting weapons. Those are boats, and they would have been way more boats than these two. By the way, what's this called when you put a bunch of boats out and stop your enemy? A blockade. So, part 1 of the strategy was to blockade the southern ports. Go, so you want a referral? Okay. Right now. So, part 1, blockade the southern ports. Now, before we go further, I want to know what you know about the economy of the North versus the South. Someone raise your hand if you know something of the way the economies differ, because boy would it play a part in this Civil War that's going to come. For instance, what did the Southern economy rely on? Slaves, and how did they make their money? Cotton, someone said. Good. How about the North? Mills. And which one do you think could make their own weapons? The North. The South did not have the factories that the North had. And that would be so key in this war, because the South couldn't make nearly as many guns or cannons or whatever to fight the war. So they would have to trade for it. And that's why the North had this plan to stop the trade of the South. Now, this blockade had a name. And I'm going to show it to you here. Oh, by the way, that's a river. Which one is it? The Mississippi River. Because the blockade would continue up the Mississippi River. And actually, the guy that come up with this, or team, I don't know who come up with it exactly, they envisioned this. They envisioned that their ships were going to surround the South and act like a giant snake. In fact, they named it the Anaconda Plan. What? What's that have to do with anything? Is he? By the way, who's ever talking should probably quit. I don't know. It's diamonds.
No, it's
I don't know. I guess an anaconda kind of looks like that. But let's see who's worn, because we're all talking too much, especially that back right table. So, it was called the Anaconda Plan. I don't think you have to know that. It extended up the Mississippi River, and it was just what they envisioned to constrict the South. Now, you can make an analogy here. Who knows how things like anacondas and boa constrictors, how do they... They do, but what's that do? It chokes them, right? It does, though. Okay. What it really does is this. It squeezes the prey, and it stops it from breathing. It can't breathe. That's how much it wraps up. It do the same thing to us. It's got a hold of us. It actually puts it to where you can't breathe. It's wrapped you so tight. That is what, okay, because you're going to upset me. And if I get upset, you're going to be an ISS. That is what the plan was. They wanted to, like, suffocate the South by cutting off the supplies. So, like a snake constricts an animal and cuts off its air supply, they want to cut off these war supplies from the South. And they would have used thousands of ships. Well, hundreds maybe. But that is part one. It is to blockade the southern ports. Part two. Does anybody know any strategy that's always used in war? In fact, it's a very common... that's good. It's more of like a statement. I think Napoleon did it a lot. Okay, nope. Yeah, true, but I was thinking of this. I was thinking of divide and conquer. Everybody ever hear that?
No.
Some of you probably heard of it. Well, part two of the Northern strategy was to divide the Confederacy and then conquer it. And where do they want to divide it? Great Confederacy in two. They want to break the Confederacy in two at the Mississippi River. So, get control of the Mississippi River. This is a warning for not paying attention. And then, you know, the Mississippi River is like miles wide. If they could control the Mississippi River, they will shut down Texas and Louisiana from communicating with this side. They could completely control one side and then move to the other and get control of it. Okay. Part 3, I'm going to let you brainstorm. Because Part 3, if you had to come up with a plan for war, there might be some other things involved. And I'm just going to give you 30 to 45 seconds to do a round robin.
About 10 minutes.
Or to brainstorm, and I'm going to see if I hear anything or you think you have any good ideas. Go ahead. What do y'all say? That's good. One side Here's the Alright. I really doubt you'll get the next part, but still, I like to hear some of your ideas, because some people said some good things. They said guerrilla warfare. That's good. One side could conduct some guerrilla warfare. Let's see, anybody else got any good ideas? Raise your hand if you think your table had a good idea. Go ahead.
Once you break this side that's on the other side of the Mississippi, you kill one side, you beat the other.
That's a divide and conquer strategy. That's what they did. Anybody else have a good idea? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to give you a hint. Well, here's what it has to do with troop movement. Back then, there was a way to move your troops pretty quick, because there was a relatively new technology. That's right. Trains would be important. Okay. Soft top 8. Okay. Discussion time's over. Trains are good. Train was a good thing, because what the North wants to do is they want to destroy the train tracks in the South and make sure that they can't use their trains. And there's another thing that no one said. If you can talk to your armies, it's a big advantage. Now, one way you can talk to your armies, like back in Washington's day during the American Revolution, they had to send a guy with a horse and a message. But there's also a new technology, the telegraph. So, the telegraph was invented back before the Civil War. Yep. So, that was part 3. Part 3 was to destroy the transportation and communication in the South. The train tracks would be really important to the war. In fact, probably the train tracks were real important in one of the most famous battles of the war that was fought. Does anybody know probably the most famous battle? Gettysburg, that's right. So, Gettysburg, the North won, and that was a major defeat for the Confederacy. And the way the North won, they kept bringing in more troops and more supplies with the railroads up there. They also had a superior position on a hill. No. Gettysburg was a hill, and the North had control of the hill, and that was real important in that old-time war. Yep, Bunker Hill was in the Revolution. Yep, Little Round Top and Big Round Top. But part 3 of the strategy was to destroy the South's transportation and communication, which was mainly the telegraph lines, which was the predecessor to the telephone, which was by wire. But anyway, the railroads would be real important. And I'm going to show you this picture of the railroads here. Okay, look at this picture of the railroads. By the way, that back table, my eyes on it, someone is pushing me to give them detention. Alright, here's a diagram of the railroads. The railroads will be real important. Now, based upon this map, who had the advantage as far as the railroads were concerned?
North.
The North. Why? They got a lot, don't they? You can see. Now, here's something that a lot of people probably don't know. The North had the advantage with the railroad system. Now, keep in mind I brought this up because one of the things the North wants to do is destroy the railroads in the South, their transportation. But here's something a lot of people don't know. The railroad tracks weren't all the same size. They varied. They varied from small, 4 foot, 8.5 inches wide, all the way up to 6 foot wide. So, if you try to put a train that was on that track, would it work? No. Now, the North was more unified with their railroad gauges. You can see a little bit of red is all that one. There's some that are different. The South, however, you can't see it, but their railroad system wasn't nearly as advanced. So, the railroads would be real important in the battle. And last, even though it's not always it's usually some type of strategy in a war, is the North wanted to get control of the Confederate capital and attack the Confederate capital of Richmond, Virginia, which Virginia's right here. Someone in here is from here. And attack that capital, because if you could attack the capital, you attack like the brain of your enemy. That's where all the orders are coming from. The capital, if you control that, you could shut them down. There'll be a lot of people there, but it's more important because of the whole command structure. Alright, give your hands a minute, then I'm going to quickly talk about the Southern strategy. Then I'm done. There's that picture of the Anaconda Plan, which represents what idea? Boat. Blockade. So, in the plan, blockade. Well, that's the Mississippi River. And then maybe I think that's a river too. That's the Missouri River. They want boats all there so they can just stock the supplies. And here's the PowerPoint. Says exactly what I told you. The 4 parts. The Anaconda Plan. Blockade the southern ports. Break the Confederacy in 2. Destroy the transportation and communication systems. And attack the capital to get to the brain of everything. And if this is all successful, it will ruin the will of the South to fight. Now, I forgot that part. But if the Northern strategy is successful, it will cripple the Southern will to fight. Maybe you saw it on the PowerPoint quickly, but morale. It will cripple the Southern morale. And it'll make the South just say, we can't win, let's give up. Now, to the Southern strategy. Because, now keep in mind, war hadn't even broke out yet. This is just a plan. Lincoln doesn't want war. I mean, that's the last thing he wants. War is bad. War hasn't even broke out yet. We're going to get to that in a minute. Well, tomorrow. But they're coming up with their plans for war before it's even started. So, if all that's successful, once again, it's going to cripple the Southern morale. Now to the Southern strategy. Which is quicker? The Southern strategy didn't have them. Alright, the Southern strategy. The South has an easier job than the North. Because the North, we quit tapping pencils because that's making it hurt. The North has to invade the South. And they pretty much got to just beat the South. They got to sit on the South. They got to pull its arm behind it and say, Uncle! Uncle! Anybody ever do that? Pull your arm behind? Yeah. Most of us have had that done to us. Now, they got to make that happen. However, the South has it easier. The South just has to make the North want to leave. So, let me ask you, is the North, let's go think back to the American Revolution, is the North like the British or like the Patriots?
They're like the Patriots.
All right, give me 1 finger held up if you think they're like the British, and 2 if they're like the Patriots. Those with 1 finger are correct. They're more like the British. Why are they like the British?
Because you're trying to get something that's theirs back.
Well, that's true. They're trying to get something that's theirs back, but they are the invading force. They're going to go down here, and they got to make them behave, just like the British had to do. So the South is like the Patriots. And someone mentioned that one of the war strategies was to use what? You could use guerrilla warfare. Okay, they could use that because they're defending their home. And those are the people that could use guerrilla warfare. Now, that's not one of the strategies, but the South has, the North has a lot of advantages because of the manufacturing and because of the manpower and the increasing immigrants are giving them people to fight. But the South has some advantages too. One, they don't have to fight an offensive war. They just have to fight a defensive war and kick the North out. They just have to make the North tire of war. It's easier to make your enemy tire of war than to outright take them over and force them into submission. And since I drew the Northern Union flag, I too am going to draw the Southern flag, which the South was called what? The Confederacy. Now, the Southern strategy, of course, they don't have the manufacturing that the North has, so the Southern strategy, they got to use their cash crop, main one, cotton. They got to sell cotton to Europe for the necessary supplies. Now, the South tried to drive up the demand of cotton in the beginning. The way that they tried to drive up the demand is they withheld the supply. Sorry. Now, let's think about your life. Let's think that you have something that your friend wants to buy from you. And you say, no, I'm not selling it. What does your friend usually do? They will raise the... They'll make the offer more and more. It's like, I don't know, maybe you got a nice glass ball like I have up there. Your friend wants it, and they offer you $5. You're like, no, I really like it. $7. I'm like, no. $20. It's yours. That's what... Nah, that thing was $15. You ain't getting it. Now, that is what the South did with the cotton. So they wanted to make the European countries give them the most they could for it. So they withheld the supply. And then they also hoped to gain more allies willing to assist when they finally did trade it. However, this strategy proved bad for the South. Because what happened is, as they waited, the blockade became stronger and stronger, and they couldn't even get their ships out to trade as much. And then Europe, England, and the other places that wanted the cotton found new markets to obtain it. For instance, the English would get it from the jewel of their empire, India, and maybe even Egypt. Alright, get that down. I'm going to quickly read through these last two PowerPoint slides, and then it will be time for you to work. Yes. No, you still got 26 minutes. Alright. I believe they called this withholding of cotton, I think they called that King Cotton diplomacy. You probably don't have to know that, but whatever, there it is. I know you don't have to know it, but other classes might hear it, so therefore you will hear it too. Although the first two classes didn't hear it because I forgot about it. Alright. Southern Confederate strategy. 1. This is big. The North has a lot of advantages in terms of weapons, manufacturing, even troops. Because the troops, there's a steady supply of people coming into the North. Because who's going north because of the manufacturing jobs? Who's going north? Immigrants. Sometimes those immigrants come in, and there were people from the war going, oh, hi, welcome to America. He's like, but I'm from Scotland. He's like, well, you're in the army now. Sign him right up. So, but back to the Southern strategy. Fight a defensive war. Use supplies gained from the sale of cotton. Tire out the North. And, of course, they're blockaded, so they have to undo the blockade. At the beginning, they withheld cotton from the European markets to increase the demand and win allies willing to assist. However, that backfired because the northern blockade becomes more effective and new cotton markets were found. And eventually, the purpose of the war changed with the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation. Any questions? No, don't you dare shut down. Okay. Oh. Alright. It doesn't matter, I'm done. Make sure your name's on that paper and give it to the ones and I'll collect it.
I got some water.
Okay,
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
hey, if I go wait. Get down, hold on. No messing with you. This is yeah. You use page 161 in the textbook. I put the directions for the online textbook. What? Yeah.